Another way I show my light is when my friends or family are upset and I comfort them.
You are really good at that.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think you have this really part of your light is that I said last week you're really empathetic. So you can tell when someone's upset, when they're hurting. You're just really compassionate, really sensitive to that. So I think that's really a beautiful part of like what you do for other people is that you'll come and just be like, are you okay? Or you just want to give someone a hug if they're upset. So I think that is a beautiful thing that you have. So you just being here and being a presence, just radiating empathy to others is really sweet.
The highlighter.
Like a highlighter. I love that.
Welcome to Living in 3D Power. Discover your truth, discern your path, determine your power. I'm Dr. Amber Sessoms, and together, let's unlock our power, build authentic connections, and foster collective liberation. Hey y'all, I'm so excited for you to be joining us for episode 2 of Living in 3D Power. Emma and I have been greatly appreciating the love, and today what we're going to be doing is diving into themes of leadership, resilience, adversity, and nurturing our light. So I'm excited for you to join us today. And thinking about my blog post this week. So when I kind of talked about the flow of how I want this podcast to go, one of the things that I do is every Monday, I release a blog post. And it's just my reflections on what's going on in the world, or maybe something that's going on with me, or a question or some questions, because I just don't have one question, y'all. I like to ask questions, and that drives the conversations that Emma and I have and that we bring to you as listeners. So this week on my blog, I talked about Michelle Obama's integrity, our forever First Lady, because she made the conscious choice to not attend the inauguration. And Emma and I talk about that. She has a really funny way of saying how excited I was about Mrs. Michelle Obama saying, yeah, no, I'm not going to this one, as she was protecting her light and working on her boundaries, right? And she's modeling that for us, particularly, I would say Black women, so particularly me, and modeling what are my boundaries that I don't have to put myself in situations that can cause me harm or I just don't want to go to, because it's going to take my energy that I could be applying to something better and more productive, and also that's going to align more with my values. So there's that point that was in the blog that Emma and I will discuss. And the other part of it, this is a really interesting time, right? So Monday was the inauguration, and it also was the same day as MLK Day. And I think that's only happened, this might be only the third time in the history that this has ever happened. So I don't ever believe in coincidences, right? There's so many things that happen in the world, so many things that happen in my life, and I'm like, that's not a coincidence. There's a reason behind it. So I believe, and many of y'all and other people, what I've been reading about, don't believe that this is a coincidence either. Dr. Bernice King saying this is a divine intervention, right? This is the divine time from God to help us to confront who we are as a nation and who we want to be, thinking about her father's legacy. So Emma and I tackle that as well, thinking about Dr. King, as Imani Perry talks about, being a moral witness for this country. And what I really love that Imani said in a note on Substack, so if you're not subscribed to her Substack, I would highly encourage you to do so. She's a professor. And what she said is, the King holiday then must become an occasion for people of conscience to refresh their commitments to justice and the beloved community. We literally are inheritors of a many generations old struggle. The memory of MLK Jr. is a challenge in this moment. How might we learn from his moral witness, his courage as he confronted unjust laws and hateful country people? What might we learn from studying his ideas and the complexities and conflicts within the movement that might provide insight for our era of the long freedom struggle? Again, that's Imani Perry. And that really is a part of the conversation that Emma and I are having today, and thinking about mission possible, not mission impossible, right? This is a mission possible that was laid even before Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but thinking about our ancestors and those that were committed and stay committed to the freedom struggle, and thinking about me and what lives in the marrow of my bones and my daughter's bones, that we are committed to the freedom struggle and upholding the dignity of who we are as people. So thinking about that, and also thinking about the power of storytelling. So Emma and I watched Becoming, Michelle Obama's documentary this weekend. Such a powerful documentary. And she's going on her book tour from her first book. But something that really struck out to me was when she quoted Toni Morrison and talking about we should be meeting our kids with gladness. So Emma and I are going to talk about that. And I tell you what, that alone is worth a listen to, because it's a moment, or there's actually two moments, where Emma calls me in. So I talk about calling people out. She calls me in to be a better mommy, right? So there's some constructive criticism, and I welcome that. So I'm really appreciative of you listening to us as we talk through what's going on in the world from my lens as an adult and hers as a 10-year-old. And I'm definitely sure that you will gain some wisdom from her. So I hope you enjoy.
It's me, it's me, it's me. It's me, it's me, it's me. Hi, it's me, Emma. Welcome back to our podcast, Living in 3D Power. And today we are going to talk about Martin Luther King Day and the inauguration.
It was a very nice introduction, Emma. Very impressed. You're a natural. So we developed some questions based on the historic events that are happening this week, right? You talked about Martin Luther King Jr., the national holiday. Also happens to coincide with the inauguration, which is rare. I think this is only the third time in history that this has happened. So it's really rare that that holiday occurs on the same day as the inauguration. And we're just going to talk about what that means. What is leadership? What is being kind? What's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy? But also, we watched a documentary yesterday. What did we watch?
It's called Becoming, and it's about Michelle Obama.
Yeah, so that was her first book, and she did a documentary about her going on her book tour and what she learned from that book tour. So we'll dig into that as well. So we have some questions, y'all. So we changed it up a little bit this week, and what we're going to do is Emma's going to ask me questions, and then I'm going to ask Emma questions. So again, the kid-friendly version, the adult version, and this is also going to help you with your reading and reading comprehension. So I think This is a good strategy. Again, here comes the school psychologist. So the first question is, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. believed in treating everyone with fairness and respect. What is one time when you helped someone or stood up for something that wasn't fair? What did it teach you about yourself and how we can make our communities better?
Well, the first thing I have is when I was in preschool and I had my friend sitting in a circle or something, and the kid next to her didn't want to touch her hand.
And I talked about this a little bit last week on the podcast separately than our time together. So do you recall, because you were probably only 2.5, 3, he didn't want to touch her hand because
Of the color of her skin.
Yeah, if I remember, you were just telling me you didn't understand why he didn't want to touch her hand. And as a mother, having to explain that to you at that young age was really hard for me. But we had to talk about your beautiful brown skin and your beautiful hair, right? We had to have those conversations really early. But I think it's important for you to know that you are perfectly made the way that you are, that God designed you with this beautiful, beautiful skin color and this beautiful, highly textured hair. But it's hard when you have a student or you have a peer that's looking at you and being like, and then for you, it was your friend, right? And so at that young age, I already saw in you this sense of like agency, and you wanted to be like, that's not right, from that very young age. But any other experiences that you had thinking about unfair treatment or having to stand up, even maybe for yourself?
There was this one time in first grade, and I think we were in library class, and I was going down the stairs, and he looked at me funny, and he called me like Blackie and stuff.
And just hearing you say that a student said that to you, I felt that right here in my chest. It was almost like a hit to my chest, because for a student of that age, he was the same age as you?
Yeah, I think
Same
so.
grade, to say something like that to you, he would have had to have heard that from an adult, someone in his family, someone he's in contact with, that's teaching him that your beautiful uniqueness and difference is bad. And I think that's really harmful, right? And it obviously is harmful, but how do we decide to solve the problem?
We had a meeting.
We had a meeting, and it was the counselor, me and Daddy, yourself, your teacher, and the principal. And I remember, I think your teacher at the time asked you, how did it make you feel? And do you remember what you said?
I think so.
What did you say?
Not good? Or
Yeah, you said
like
something.
that?
It was so emphatically, you were like, it didn't make me feel good. I mean, and she was kind of taken aback by that. I don't know what she expected you to say, but you were so adamant about it didn't make you feel good, and you didn't like it, and it wasn't fair. So when you think about the question, like something that, it was unfair, you had to stand up for yourself, but we allowed you as your parents to speak up for yourself and to have the meeting and voice your concerns, and also to say, it's not right, and I deserve to be here like anyone else, and no one's going to make fun of my beautiful brown skin and beautiful hair, right? Because we talked about that. I talked about that on the podcast last week. So the other part of that question is, what did it teach you about yourself and how you can make our communities better?
It taught me that everyone should be treated the same, and that people shouldn't be telling like little kids that like brown skinned people are bad and they're like ugly and stuff.
I mean, do you believe that when people say things like that?
No.
Which is what I love the most about you, because when I was younger, I believed that to a degree. I believed that I was ugly and that my skin color wasn't, desirable or pretty, because people called me darky and called me blackie. I know, if you can't see her right now, her mouth, her jaws literally dropped. Yeah, so I didn't have that experience, Emma, but I'm just so proud of you. And listen, kudos to mommy and daddy as well, because you really have this confidence about who you are as this powerful Black girl. Yes. And we love that about you. So, do you want to ask me the adult version of that question?
Yes. Reflecting on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, what is one time you challenged an injustice or helped someone facing unfair treatment? How did that experience influence your sense of self and your connection to your community?
I can think of a number of incidences, but one I'll reflect on is just thinking about when students are targeted, particularly students that look like us. So when Black or brown students or students with disabilities or students that might speak a different language are targeted, I take great offense to that. And one of the ways that we work on that is I help them to tell their story. So when you went to the teacher and the counselor and the principal and you said, this boy talked about my skin color and it didn't make me feel good, right? Something needed to be done. There needed to be a solution so that wouldn't happen again. And that's the part of when there's an injustice done, it's not enough to be like, I was hurt, you said something mean to me. It's the people that have the power, they have to make changes so that it feels safer for us to be in those spaces. Part of being a school psychologist and really being an adult educator is making sure that I can educate the adults that are supposed to be protecting you to create safe spaces so when you're at school, that you feel absolutely like you can be yourself. And no one's going to talk about your skin color or your hair and make you feel like you don't belong, because you belong any place and every place that you want to be. So that's really the work that I do. And I make sure what we say, amplify student voice. So I'm amplifying your voice as you're talking to me. And we're saying, we're going to listen to what these students have to say. And then we're going to create different systems, different ways that we engage, that we interact, that we build community so that little Emmas and people that look like little Ambers in the world feel absolutely safe to be themselves and proud of who they are. Okay, so your question is, Dr. Bernice King says we need to remember who we are as people. What does being a good person mean to you? And how do the people around you or on TV show you how to treat yourself and others kindly or not?
Well, I think people treat me kind when, like, they give me a hug or something, because that makes me feel special and loved. And on TV, I feel like funny shows, like, they have meanings in it, and also not being kind on TV is the new president.
Whoa, you said that with a little, you can't see her face, but she's making this, like she's kind of flared up her nostrils and puckered her lips.
He is just mean and rude, and he just only cares about himself. He doesn't even know anything about his vice president.
Whoa, okay. So you feel very strongly about that, I see. Mm-hmm. So what kind of lessons do you think that teaches you as a 10-year-old when you see him that you are saying is really mean, only cares about himself, being our president? What kind of message would you say that sends to you?
Be nicer, be kinder, be respectful, be all the things that Trump is not.
So, okay, I like that. So when you see people, because some people might see that as, well, you know what, I can be mean, rude, disrespectful, be about myself, power, and be like, I can be all of those things and still be president? That's amazing. But what you're saying is, you got the highest position in what people consider all of the land, right, like across the globe, and it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you're still mean. You're not kind. So for you, you're looking at him not as a role model, but as someone to say, I don't want to be like that, and I'm going to choose to be kind and to be loving, which is what I love. And I hope that more people follow that lead. They don't use him as a model. Mm-hmm. But the harm in having someone like that on TV, in the media, having the power that he has, is that a lot of people might emulate, means model, try to be like that. But so I hope there are definitely more Emmas in the world that are like, you know what? No, I don't want to be mean. I want to be kind and infuse love in the world. So I love that. And I also heard what you said earlier about what makes you feel loved. And I see this is very true for you, is that physical touch. So we talk about love languages as adults, but kids have love languages too. And yours is physical touch. I think yours is also words of affirmation though, because sometimes what you want from someone else you give. And I notice oftentimes you'll be like, I love you. Or you'll come up and be like, snuggle time. Or you'll also say, your hair looks really pretty, or you look really pretty today, mommy. So I think those are two really big ones for you, that physical touch, so you like to be hugged, that makes you feel loved, but you also like words of affirmation, so just saying really kind things, being a kind person really helps. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to do my question?
Dr. Bernice King reminds us to reflect on who we are as people. What experiences or narratives have shaped your understanding of what it means to be a good person, and how do these lessons influence the way you treat yourself and others?
I think I'm wired a lot like you in terms of I see what I don't like, right? And I'm like, not going to be like that. That's not what I consider good. Yeah. So thinking about the incoming president and being like, that is not what I consider a good person, that is helpful and that's looking out for all people. But for me, when we think about, being Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, what people don't realize is that he wasn't just fighting for Black people. He was fighting for people that were in poverty. So he fought for anyone that was considered different. Exactly. So I think that's really important when we think about what experiences shape, like who I want to be, what I consider a good person. It's that I can use my privilege and I can say, who else can I help? How else can I amplify their voices and what they need, work alongside them? Because I think sometimes we have this power and we think, I can tell you what you need. I know exactly what you need. And we never ask them. We come up with these solutions that are horrible. And if we just ask the people that have been doing this work for years what they needed, we would get better solutions. So I really appreciated his model of, I'm going to be down marching with them side by side in the trenches with them and really honoring not just people that look like me, but people that have a sense of empathy and can understand I might not be Black, but I might be struggling and be in poverty, or I might be queer, or I might have a disability. But we all are human beings and we all deserve dignity and respect and honor. Okay, back to Mrs. Michelle Obama, our forever First Lady.
Yes.
She says, everyone has a light inside of them. What is your light and how do you show it to your friends, family, or teachers?
So my light is basically like being funny, and I just am funny. I think that's my light. Being funny, nice, kind. Well, that's basically the same thing as nice. And I make my friends laugh sometimes, but not all the time. So that's how I show my light. And another way I show my light is when my friends or family are upset and I comfort them.
You are really good at that.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think you have this really part of your light is that I said last week you're really empathetic. So you can tell when someone's upset, when they're hurting. You're just really compassionate, really sensitive to that. So I think that's really a beautiful part of like what you do for other people is that you'll come and just be like, are you okay? Or you just want to give someone a hug if they're upset. So I think that is a beautiful thing that you have. So you just being here and being a presence, just radiating empathy to others is really sweet.
Like a highlighter.
Like a highlighter. I love that.
Okay, next question. Mrs. Michelle Obama spoke about the light within everyone. What practices help you identify and nurture your light when the world feels overwhelming?
Okay, so I have to tell myself that I am uniquely and divinely made, right? So positive affirmations, you know how you have those affirmation cards in your room? So sometimes there are negative thoughts that creep in, right? So we kind of talk about this where you can bully yourself and say really negative things about yourself. Yeah. So we counteract that by saying really positive things about myself. So if I believe that I'm not good enough or I can't do it, what do I say to counteract that is that, God can give me the tools and the strength and the courage to do the things that I need to do, right? That he equipped me with everything that I need, or that I can learn that new thing, that I can do hard things. So I think for me, that's a really important practice because we spend a lot of time in our heads. You ever realize that? Mm-hmm. A lot of time in our heads, and a lot of the thoughts aren't always good. So if I can put more positive thoughts, you just made a face, because is that true?
Kind of.
So yeah, if you think about how much time we spend in thinking negative thoughts, how do we counteract that with positive thoughts? We have to be able to do that for ourselves first. It is great to have people in community. It's great to have mommy and daddy, or it's great to have Emma to be like, when I talk about, ooh, I need to lose some weight, and you'll say,
"You're beautiful."
You always be the first one to tell me that I need to stop body shaming myself. Yes. So it's great to have external support and validation, but we also have to have that internal, right? We have to be able to know without anyone telling us that we are enough, that we are beautiful, that we are divinely made, all the things. So I think that is the thing that I focus on, and then working on the things that make me come alive, that I get really excited about. So I'm talking to you, creating things for my clients, so creating new reflection guides or building new communities, really doing the things that inspire me and help me to feel most like myself that I want to put out in the world. I spend time doing those things that bring me joy, so that I can help other people. So when your family greets you with kindness or happiness, how does it make you feel? What's one way you like to show kindness or happiness to others when you see them?
Let me think. When you guys or my friends compliment me or like make me happy, I feel happy.
What does it feel like in your body?
Like a bee.
Like a bee buzzing around in your body? Oh, is that a nice feeling? You like how that feels?
Soft.
A soft bee? Maybe like a flutter?
Pillow.
Like a pillow.
Like a tiny pillow.
Oh, like a tiny. But you kind of making arms like it's almost hugging you, or you're lying down on a soft pillow, so it makes you feel soft and comfortable. Mm-hmm. But also kind of energized, like maybe the buzzy bee is like, zzz, how you said. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Next question. Toni Morrison said, "Our kids just want our gladness. What are some ways you can show more gladness and warmth to your kids, especially in the moments when you might feel distracted or overwhelmed?"
I love this. So this was actually the podcast. So you didn't listen to this episode. So her second book, Michelle Obama, talked about the quote, "Our kids just want our gladness." And that was based off of this interview that Toni Morrison did with Oprah. I think it was in 2020 on her book, The Bluest Eye. And she's talking about when she had to recognize within herself when she walks in the room, or her kids walk in the room, she couldn't look at them with a critical eye. So it really hit me hard, because her example was, say we're going somewhere and you come down, and she'd be like looking at your clothes, be like, "You're wrinkled," or "What are you wearing?"
That's you.
So instead of being like, "Oh, it's so nice to see you," right? The greeting in the morning is really important. And she says that is our way of showing care as parents. And I think generationally, that's what we're really focused on, is like making sure that you're put together, you're neat, you look presentable. But we miss the part about what does it look like from your lens and your perspective, right? So if I'm looking at you, and if you can't see my face, I'm kind of scowling my face and looking at a critical eye, and that's what you see and that's reflected to you, that's not a greeting. That's not what warms your heart, right?
It makes me sad.
It makes you sad.
I'm like, what's wrong? Is my outfit bad?
Right, or is
That's
there something,
what I think.
Something like maybe there's something wrong with me, right? That those things we can internalize. So when she talked about that, and Mrs. Michelle Obama said it as well. Like, she has to be like, oh, sometimes she messes up and she misses it. And as parents, we're not perfect. You know that. We make mistakes. So I'm trying to do a better job of being like, oh, I can't be as critical all the time. Or how, when I greet you in the morning, can I greet you with kindness and gratitude for you and your existence, because that makes such a big impact on who you believe yourself to be, right? And how you show up in the world. So if I can allow you to be great and show your light and honor that light and not be like, Emma, did you lotion today?
That is you. You always talking about my knees and my feet.
Listen, it's important. We can't be ashy.
You like, your feet are so crusty and dry. You need to put on some lotion. Did you lotion yourself when you got out of the shower?
That's important. We gotta be moisturized. Get that shea butter, get them oils. But I get it. So the point is, that is my way. So I think sometimes it's like we have to see each other. We both have to see each other. So that is my way of showing care and concern for you. But what you're saying is, but mommy, like, you don't have to be so critical. Like, how do I greet you more with kindness and gladness, right?
You need to say it nicer.
Say it nicer with a nicer tone.
Yes,
right?
You need to be like, did you lotion your feet? Because if not, you have to.
Oh, that's a
like nicer, like toned down. Not like, did you lotion your feet and knees? You look ashy. Crusty feet.
You're right. I'm going to do a better job. So then the next question is going to be, sometimes people feel like they have to do something just because others expect them to. What is one time when you made a choice that felt right for you, even if it was hard?
When I was in second grade, I used to wear shorts with like leggings with patterns and then like a t-shirt and and looking back now, that was not a good fashion choice. But it was second grade.
I mean, and you're so much more mature now being in fourth grade that you know. Those fashion choices you made back then.
I'm like, why did I wear that?
Because you thought you were hot stuff, okay? I had to stop telling you what to wear probably when you were like 4. You were very adamant about like, I'm going to wear this and it doesn't matter if it's mismatched. Like, I know I look good. And I'm like, let me cultivate that confidence. So do you ever remember a time in school where someone made fun of your outfits?
I don't think anyone makes fun of my outfits, but a particular person critiques my outfit.
Critiques them?
Yes.
Who?
So we got the plants and then we got you. So I think it's you.
Wait. I critique your outfits.
Yes, you do. You always like, that's mismatched and you need to wear a jacket. And
well, it is important to wear a jacket when it's cold.
Yes, but it needs to match the outfit.
Okay, so
and you're always like, it doesn't need to match. It doesn't need to match.
Oh, when you want it to be like, I have to wear the same color and be monochromatic. Or because you're like, well, I'm not going to wear those tan shoes because I have black on. I'm like, those are neutrals. No. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work like that.
So you're telling me, see, what I thought about myself is that I've eased up and been like, let this child just wear what she wants. And you're telling me, Is that what you're saying? That I haven't eased up on your fashion choices, that I'm still kind of like, oh, you sure about that?
Yeah.
Oh, see, and I think that's the mirror that you hold up to me as your mother, because I thought I was doing such a better job of being like, let me not say anything about that fashion statement.
You're doing a little bit better than
Oh.
you used to be.
But I can improve
Yes, just a teensy-weensy bit.
a teensy-weensy bit more. Okay, I thank you for that constructive criticism. I will try better.
So, my mom's been saying Michelle Obama,
Mrs. Michelle Obama.
Mrs. Michelle Obama, got famous because she said no for the inauguration. So this is basically what the question's about.
And to clarify, she been famous. Right? Like, she didn't get famous from saying no. I think the no, particularly for me as a Black woman, is just so liberating. So,
You're like, oh.
yeah. So she didn't get famous. I just think it definitely made headlines because it went against the status quo, the tradition. But I'll let you read the question.
Mrs. Michelle Obama chose to skip the inauguration to protect her light. When have you discovered a boundary you needed to set to protect your own well-being?
And to clarify, I don't think we know for certain why she's not going, which is what I also love, because when you're in the spotlight, I feel like what you have to do is you got to answer to everyone and tell everyone all your business. And she was like, you don't have access to me all the time. I'm just going to say no, and no is a complete sentence, right?
Yes.
So boundaries are like, I'm going to say this is what I need to stay safe or feel supported or not expend my energy or not be around negative energy. And she is maintaining her light because there are things that can drain our light, right? Like when we're around people that are negative.
Like Trump.
That's what I'm saying, right? That can zap our energy, suck our energy out, right? We can make a choice to say, I don't want to put myself around toxicity, around toxic people, because it's not good for my mental well-being or my physical well-being. So we don't have to put ourselves around people that are causing us harm, intentionally or unintentionally, right? That we don't have to put ourselves in situations. And I don't have to do things just because for tradition's sake. So what I love about Mrs. Michelle Obama is like, I don't have to do this tradition as pomp and circumstance, because she's been very clear on the election trail. She was very clear in her books about the harm that the president-elect has caused her. And I think it's an important lesson for us, particularly as Black women and girls, that we always feel like we have to put ourselves in harm's way. When people said negative and nasty things about us, we don't have to do that. We don't always have to be like, I'm going to rise above. Like, we can say, I can still maintain my dignity. I just won't put myself and expose myself to further harm. Right? You're over there like, amen. I was waiting for the amen, but it didn't come. Okay.
Amen.
I thought it was like mic drop, but okay. Maybe not.
Where's my mic?
Don't drop that mic. So this was a little different. What did you think about us asking each other the questions?
Difficult, but it was good. It was a lot of work, back and forth, switching. Oopsie, I'm giving the secrets away. The secrets behind
the scenes, backstage pass
Yes.
secrets. But I think the beauty of it is that you can try something different, and then you can come back and say, how did that work? How did it feel? And you can always tweak it, right? We don't have to have everything packaged up and be like, this is how we're going to do it and stick to this. We can change as we go because we're human beings and things change. So I think that's a beautiful part. But
just like
what is
my hair.
Just what?
Just like my hair.
Just like your hair changes?
Yeah.
Well, you put it in different styles, but yes.
Yeah.
And it grows super long. It's ridiculously long. I'm going to catch up with you one day. So in terms of the conversation, though, what's your biggest takeaway from us going back and forth with these conversations? Like, what is the nugget of wisdom that you're going to hold on to?
Be yourself and treat people fairly.
I love that. And for me, I agree. Definitely be yourself. One of my things I call myself is the authenticity architect. I also love alliteration. So thinking about being yourself is so key because God designed you as you. And we spend so much of our life pretending to be someone else because the media and all these images, they say, be like this. And the more that we get back to who we actually are, the better off the light that we have gets to shine brightly because we'll dim our light, right, for other people. Right, so we'll shrink, we'll say, I'm not going to show up like that because they're going to think I'm weird. Or if y'all could see her face, she was like, what? Right? But you're unique and I'm going to show up as but there's a lot of people that do that, right? They'll pretend to be someone else that they're not to fit in. And what we're saying is, fitting in is not the way to go. When you're yourself, you create your own.
And you're the most happiest.
You are. You're most happy when you're yourself. And when you do that, your light gets to shine bright. And then what that does is it allows other people to say, ooh, there's a spark or there's a something in her. What is that thing? I want to be like that.
Like the song by Rihanna.
What's the song?
Shine bright tonight, you and I. You're beautiful like diamonds in the sky.
I love that.
I like a diamond.
So we are shining bright like diamonds because we're going to be authentically who we are. Shine bright like a diamond. So I agree, Emma. Those are some nuggets. You dropped some wisdom today. Thank you very much. It was challenging, but you did it.
Like
and I'm proud of you.
Nuggets. Dropped them down in my stomach.
I don't even know what she's saying at this point, y'all. You'll close us out, Emma?
Yes. It's me and bye in 3D.
So I told y'all she was going to call me in, but she did it in the most respectful and beautiful way. So I'm going to be honoring her words and her feelings and doing my best in this human form to show up better for her as her mama. And some of the things, just thinking about our conversation that really emerged, was thinking about empathy as light. So y'all heard, now this is 2 times on this podcast talking about Emma's level of empathy, which I think is just unmatched. So she has this innate ability to really see what people are feeling, and she'll just come in for a hug. It's like, are you okay? And sometimes she will allow me and give me the permission needed to be like, oh, I'm really frustrated right now, or maybe I'm being a little short and I need to go get myself together so that I can meet her with gladness or meet the people in the family with gladness. So Emma's a great mirror for that, because if it's something that's going on with me, if I'm stressed, right, me working through that and not taking it out on anyone in the house is going to be paramount. And I'm telling you that Emma is the barometer for that. So I just really appreciate the light that she is, and she's calling me to radiate more of my light. And also thinking about talking about confronting injustice. So you heard her talk about her friend in preschool, and we talked about this in my reflections last week about this little boy not wanting to touch her friend's hand because she was Black. And even Emma experiencing that in first grade when someone didn't like the color of her skin and called her Blackie and was scowling at her in the library. And the sense of agency and dignity that we really evoke in her to really speak her truth and to go to the school and have the meeting with the principal, the counselor, the teacher, and name the harm and demand better, that they do a better job of looking at and protecting this beautiful Black girl so that she isn't made to feel that she is inferior or that her difference is undesirable, as Sonia Renee Taylor talks about, that some people want to live in this world and think, oh, this is a colorblind society. And what Sonia Renee Taylor says to that is, no, you learned, it's a great thing that you're trying to say. What you're trying to articulate is, I learned that there are things about you simply because of the color of your skin that are negative, that are undesirable. But what I'm saying is, I'm looking at that. I want to erase that part of you because I don't want to believe those things. And what we have to do as a people is acknowledge and come to terms with the history that, yes, we have a history of anti-Blackness and anti-difference, that if we can make people the same, cookie cutter, unconscious, walking around and just accepting what is, then we have this society that we can be proud of. And what Sonia Renee Taylor is saying, that difference is absolutely what is desirable. And my difference doesn't make your difference any less. And I talk about this in my work and thinking about, we have 2 Australian Labradoodles, and they're the most bougie, ridiculous dogs. You can just Google Labradoodles, but Google Australian Labradoodles and you'll see what I mean. They look like these teddy bears. And we can create all these variations in animals and trees and grass. But when it comes to people, we want to say, no, I need you to be one way because it makes me feel comfortable, because there's something within me that feels inferior. And you saw in the segment where I said that to Emma, like, just be the same or something to that nature. And Emma makes this face if you're watching. And you might have been able to hear this audible, like, where she is very confident in her uniqueness and not wanting to be like everyone else. And I think that is such a beautiful thing that all of us have innately as children. And that's our God-given uniqueness and our gifts. And then as we grow up, we try to fit in, we try to play the game to get ahead, and that game is tired, y'all. So Emma is always a constant reminder for me to be like, I'm not playing that game, checking myself. How can I show up authentically in all of my spaces? Because it's going to give license for other people. As I show my light, it's giving license for people to do the same. And another thing we talked about was boundaries. So I love how she was like, that it made Mrs. Michelle Obama famous, that she's now famous. And I was like, girl, she's been famous, right? But that is the commentary this week in thinking about, she said no, and no is a complete sentence. And what I love best is that Mrs. Obama didn't even give a rationale or reason, because she doesn't have to, because her boundary is, you don't have full access to me, and I don't have to give you a rationale for why I do the things that I do. Right. And I think that's a beautiful reminder for us that aren't in this spotlight, that people can't have access to us 24/7. So even thinking about our phones, right, that we're constantly on our phones. People have access to us through text, through email on our phones. And we have to establish some firm boundaries in saying, no, not today, or within these times. And that is for you to establish. So I would say check out my blog on my website or Substack, because I did a 4-part series on boundaries and thinking about the work of Prentice Hemphill and Nedra Glover and the work that they do on boundaries, and Mia Birdsong. It's really important work. And I think this is a beautiful time, particularly for me as a Black woman who struggles with being an Enneagram 8 and wanting to fight for the underdog, as I talked about on my blog, and Chichia Gorham's work on Black liberation and in the Enneagram, and being an 8, that I am an activist, I am fighting on behalf of others. And I have to learn, when is it my fight, and when can I develop the agency in someone else so that it can be their fight and they can speak their truth and I can walk alongside them, but I don't have to carry all of that burden. And these are the lessons that I'm trying to teach Emma from a young age, so that she, at 43, like me, isn't unlearning some of those harmful things on how I thought I had to show up in the world and fight on behalf of others, that I can develop the agency to speak my truth and then find other people that can echo what I have to say, or find my community so I don't feel alone. And then another part was just thinking about your self-worth. So what are the things that we do? And I hope that you can see that and how Emma shows up in the world and how she called herself a highlighter with her light. How can we, right, be those highlighters in someone else's life to help to elevate who they are uniquely? That if you have a gift where you can see someone's uniqueness, how do you pull that out? How do you highlight that in someone else so that so that you can meet them with gratitude, with gladness? And I just want to end, because one of the biggest things, if you got to this part, you definitely heard Emma call me in on doing a better job of meeting her with gladness. And it comes from Toni Morrison's interview when she was on Oprah's show, when Oprah made her Bluest Eye a book club favorite, and it was 2020. And she asked her, to recall what she said to her that was so powerful. And I also agree, it's so powerful. It's so powerful that so many people, including Mrs. Michelle Obama, have recalled that and quote that and how they show up as parents. And it's interesting to see when a kid walks in the room, your child or anyone else's child, does your face light up? And that's what they're looking for. When my children used to walk in the room when they were little, I looked at them to see if they were buckled, if their trousers were buckled, or their hair was combed, or if their socks were up. And so you think your affection and your deep love is on display because you're caring for them. It's not when they see you. They see the critical face. They're looking at you like, what's wrong now? But then if you let your, as she said she's trying to do from that time moving forward, to let your face speak what's in your heart. I love that. Let your face speak what's in your heart, because when they walked in the room, I'm glad to see them. It's just as small as that. So that's the challenge for this week, that when you are met with a young person, whether it be your own child, grandchild, niece, nephew, or someone else's, if you're an educator, that you're meeting them with gladness, that your face, your countenance shows and mirrors the beauty that they are. Because we will read, right? And particularly for kids, they will read a room. And if you are a child from a historically marginalized background, you have a sixth sense of seeing when someone is for you or against you. And when you can meet a child with gladness, just think about that as an adult. If I can be met with gladness, but for a child to be met with gladness, maybe that's their only experience with that. And you could be that person for them. It changes their path forward. So just meet them with gladness and show on your countenance what is in your heart. Until next time, y'all.